Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. We are here at the end of our Group C day here on the Path to LCS stream, and we just got to see the AOE Ginger Turmeric come up with a big dub in game number 1.
Yeah, they started out the games a little bit slow. Needed a little bit of time to get scaled up, but once they made it there, boy, it was an absolute marvel. It was a treat to behold. I really enjoyed seeing what they were looking to do, and right, just as I was saying, okay, they can do X situation and pull out the game like that. X situation unfolded before our eyes, right? They were looking at the playbook and they were thinking, this is exactly how we're going to be closing out the game. A real treat to behold for sure. And I think that if they implement those just core fundamentals into game number 2, CLG Faith certainly are going to have a difficult time at trying to take a game away from them. But it is worth noting that they certainly put themselves into a couple of difficult situations, knowing that they were going into an Udyr and then not drafting appropriately to have the amount of damage they needed, the right damage diversification as well.
Well, I do know that if we asked a couple different people, I know Smats was thinking that CLG Faith was going to be able to come out on top here, and I also know that Twitter was really cheering for CLG Faith going into today's matchup. So real quick, I got word that I had a very special guest that wanted to give their thoughts on today's matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to them real quick.
Hello, Ari. All right, we're gonna do a prediction. Left is going to be CLG, you understand? Right is going to be AOE Ginger Turmeric. All right. Well, that's the left one. I think I said that was CLG, right? All right, well, go ahead and have another tree. You heard it here. CLG, the faithful.
Thank you for that. My dog Ari has faith in CLG Faith too, right? So
Doggo is adorable, man. There's no other way of putting it. That was maybe the most adorable thing I've seen. Period.
Hey, she can be quite charming, that's for sure. And yeah, that's a big thing for a puppy like that. But going into today's game, I mean, CLG Faith, they've got to figure out an answer. I liked what I saw from them. That was much different than what I saw from CLG Faith inside of the other circuit qualifier, where it was, all right, 40 to 50 minutes is the dream, everybody. We scale, we team fight, we win. Let's go. And it was this one, they had more early tools. They were more decisive around the map and making stuff happen earlier on. It's just the composition didn't really have any answers as games went on later.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, the way that they made AOE Ginger Turmeric look a little bit shaky was through those early game tools that they had. They were able to find solo kills in the bot lane and then also taking a couple good skirmishes through the mid lane as well. Notably, right, Trevor finding the solo kill onto deep lane in the Tom Kench versus Misfortune matchup, which not a sentence that you'll typically hear every day, but it's the situation that they found themselves in. They had those early tools, unfortunately weren't able to pilot them well enough to snowball the game through and through. But they are certainly showing some different sides. That proactivity in the early game is something that was missing and something that it looks like they have found. Exciting that they can potentially bring that back and start to push through with it. Maybe try and give themselves a bit of an outing in game number 2 as well now.
Yeah, and I think for AOE GT, right, they're probably looking at things like, okay, we had a rough early start, right? Like, do they change that, or do they say it doesn't matter if we have like a rough early starter like that, as long as we continue the draft the way we do, where they have insurance policies where it's just like, all right, once the game hits 20-25 minutes, don't kill Udyr, don't kill Trundle. Well, what do you got for us? You can't stop us from doing anything on the map.
No, and obviously they've got the sides have been switched. I believe CLG going to be on their blue side for game number 2, so we are going to see some slight differentiation, some adaptations coming through from the squads themselves. How that changes the draft, how that impacts potential Udyr priority is something that we're going to have to keep our eyes on. And Senna, of course, a champion that didn't necessarily get the biggest run out in the last game, but Aaron was probably the shining star in terms of the damage that was coming through from CLG that game. So I think that there's something else to keep your eye on. Those two picks in particular are really where I'm going to be drawing my attention.
Yeah, I personally, I kind of want to see them. I want to see them take some of the tools that they gave themselves in this last game, right? And I want to see them
keep
take
the early game.
Yeah, keep the early game, but also draft yourself some of the pieces that of what CLG Faith has been known for, right? That late game scaling. Give Aaron something like that Jinx or something along those lines where you're able to pop off as the game goes on later. And then all of a sudden you've got this smooth transition where you got Rosethorn, who is kind of controlling the early pace alongside with Trevor possibly. Town, who can very much so pop off early on in the game as well. And then you switch that around to some really great like snap engagements from Draco, who we did see some great engagements from in the past and in the past game. And you pair that together with Aaron, who is a very prolific team fighter inside of this AD carry role. You could have yourself a nice recipe for success. It's just I feel like they got to get the right ingredients to make this work for them.
Yeah, I think that's something that I feel like so frequently we see from teams is that they either have the right ingredients or the right prep, but finding the two together is something that we need to see from them. And if they can start to put together those pieces and formulate that late game team fight composition with the tools to get them there through the early stages, that is obviously going to be the dream scenario, right? It's what everybody wants, is something where they can win early, but also have that late game Exodia composition if all goes to the wayside a little bit through that. But obviously with CLG Faith being staring down now a 0-1, then they're no shock, they're no surprises, no strangers to being in a adverse position. Obviously in spring they started out 0-2 in their OQ run, managed to turn it back into a 3-2, or in summer qualifier number 1 was 0-2, managed to end up 3-2 to make it into the group stage games. And the reverse sweep capacity, their ability to turn games turn series when they're not necessarily having the best start, that late game scaling aspect in through series, certainly something that CLG Faith can really bring to the table.
And remember, picking up a win here, even if you don't get out of the groups, right? You want to be able to pick up a win because each win inside a group stage gets you points. Like that is a big thing. And I want to reiterate this because Jake's Kitten, who was a team that was up there in terms of the point standings, no longer in contention with those points. This puts you is a beautiful situation. Teams like CLG Faith, we talked about it with AOE randoms in the previous game as well. There's so many teams out there that are benefiting from this, and they need those points if they want to be able to make it to that next stage. They do not want their proving grounds. They do not want their story to end here. So here we go. We are getting into the draft. CLG Faith on the blue side, AOE GT over on the red side.
Okay, so taking it, top lane is something that we see very frequently up against CLG Faith. Draco gets a champion pool limited fairly frequently, and the Sejuani rather from last game. Certainly, not the greatest outing for Draco. Did get counterpicked with that trundle, so credit to Moosehater for having that one in his back pocket as well. But the Rumble taken off the board as well. You may be thinking, if you're unfamiliar, new to the amateur circuit, oh, Rumble top lane, we haven't seen that for a while. Nope, it's actually Rumble focused at Captain Shrimps, their mid laner. He's played the Rumble mid a couple of times, very proficient with it, and getting that one taken away from him is absolutely no surprise on the ban table for CLG Faith.
Bro, Captain Shrimp's champion pool is a weird thing to talk about.
Yeah, we could start delving in.
We could start delving in, but I think we gotta see what the first pick is. Is it Udyr's banned, so they don't first pick Udyr here?
We'll have to see where their priorities lie. There's still the things like the Zeri actually still open, which is a champion we see fairly frequently taken away on that red side table. The other champion that I highlighted before we got into the draft, Travi, was the Senna, to see where the team's priorities lied with that, and it has been picked up here. Now, AGT have an opportunity here to take something like an Aphelios Tom Kench. It denies you the Senna TK lane, and you can pair up quite nicely, still keep that Aphelios safe, similar to what a Thresh would do in seasons gone by with that Lantern. But it is Keel just instantly buying into another power farm oriented jungle, the Karthus, something that is not necessarily shared amongst all teams, all champions, all players in that jungle role. But when we see it come out, we saw it just yesterday on the Academy stream. Very powerful Karthus game came through and actually really turned the tides of a match. So if Keel can have that pressure, that priority once again, this time with a power farmed up Karthus in the jungle, certainly a lot of control going AGT's way.
Yeah, I could see him also going like the first strike build too and just getting that money, and then the Requiem is still, it will kill, and that is exactly what is the bane of CLG Faves. And you can see they're grabbing defensive tools already. Tom Kench already in favor.
yeah, taking that pairing down in the bot lane, absolutely no surprise that you want to see those two locked in together, but that just means that there's no reason for Deep Lane and Duo King not to lock back their same bot lane as well. Ashe already taken. They're going to take the Misfortune to pair up with it. Obviously, Duo King and Deep Lane had a bit of a rough time through the early stages, but Deep Lane largely catching the bad end of that, and Duo King's arrows were largely very, very impactful through team fights, through skirmishes, making the difference across multiple areas of the map. So excited to see them once again piloting this combo in the bot side. But we do have two solo laners missing across either side, both mid and top lane. Not yet being picked. Expect to see those the focus of the bans. The Gwen taken off the board for AGT, taking a top laners that they could maybe think is going to be bad into their top lane blind, and then give Captain Shrimps that counter pick in the mid lane.
Yeah, it could be that's such an illustrious person to be able to give counterpay to, right? Like, this whole entire team is full of players that will just grab something that you wouldn't think about, right? They don't see the meta as what is the most effective for everybody else. They see the meta as what's the most effective strategy for them. And for them, it's, yo, what did I play in solo queue into this matchup and I dunked on somebody? Like, I feel like that's their conversations that they have. So it's a scary thing whenever you have to figure out, all right, how exactly do we draft against this team?
Of course, those bans coming out. We've got Akali and Gwen taken off the board. So AP top lane is taken out by AGT. And then we've also got very decent answers to the Sejuani taken off the board by CLG, the Camille and the Trundle taken away. It looks like it is just going to be blind picking Captain Shrimps, the Swain in the mid lane. The champion that has a fairly decent time of things in generally every matchup. The Yone is still open, is still up on the board if CLG want to match with that, but instead they're going to opt into some magic damage coming out in this mid lane. Silas locked on in, and now we get to see, do they back the bullet once again, take that Sejuani into that top lane and sort of roll the dice on Moose Hater's second counter pick, or are they going to go for something a bit different in game number 2?
Right now, a Singed Hover is very different. I like the Silas pick because of the ults that are on the table. You got 4 really viable ones, but a Singed Blind would be insanity. But it is going to be the Sejuani. There's no Trundle this time. So, Moose Hater, what do you have in the barrel?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense that they go for this Sejuani. They set up for it with those last 2 bans, right? The Trundle and the Camille both taken off the board. I imagine that we'll have to see Moose Hater dive a little bit deeper into that champion pool, see if he has something as an answer. And the Singed Hover, for those that don't know, we touched on Captain Shrimps' champion pool. A very proficient Singed mid player as well, so simply a call out to the enemy mid laner that they're playing up against. The Poppy, the R5 pick for AOE Ginger Turmeric, not just good for stopping Sejuani engagements, but also engagement that we're going to be seeing coming through from Rosefawn and Town. Both of those dashes going to be immune by that steadfast presence if we see Moose Hater in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and Poppy's one of those champions that whenever I talk to people or whenever I played, I'm like, wow, this champion's busted, right? Like, you're able to deny so much with that ability if you are in the right place at the right time, and you actually do a ridiculous amount of damage too. So I am very curious. Moose Hater had a fantastic game number 1. Remember, they came in as a substitute for Existence in the top lane, and they performed great. Now they're on a champion that we don't normally see.
So there's a little bit of pressure on Moose Hater then, obviously. Like you say, coming in as that substitute, now playing the Poppy, having played the Trundle in game number 1, 2 champions that we don't frequently see up in that top lane. Got the better of Draco in game number 1 with 1 counter pick that is a lot more. We'll have to see if he can do it here in game number 2 on a pick which is a lot more team fight centric. Going to be focused very heavily on protecting that backline, keeping Deep Lane alive, keeping Keel alive as well. Very important carry for AGT as this game gets later and later. But like we say, 2 different styles of champions. A good showcase for Moose Hater so far today.
Yeah, Moose Hater's had a great time, but you know, somebody who tends to have a very great time, and I want to highlight it because we didn't really get to talk about him. Town has been a prolific pillar for CLG's Faith's engagement. I want you to look at all 5 ultimate abilities that CLG Town can take and tell me which one's a bad one, right? Like, there's not a single bad one that you can
challenge impossible.
Like, if you're giving somebody like Town like resources inside this game, Requiem, Swain's demonic ascension, the bullet time, the enchanted crystal arrow, the keeper's verdict, like there's just so many things that are so good for Silas to be able to snatch up inside of these team fights.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Keeping town sort of at an arm's length from nearly everybody this game is going to be something that AGT have to keep their eyes on. It's one of those weird mini games. You know, if there's only one good ulti, you'll see players largely keep themselves away from a Silas in a team fight, and you'll have other people zoning. But when all 5 champions have such good ults to take away, you're either just getting zoned off by a Silas threatening to steal your ulti, or you just have to bite the bullet and say, okay, you get Requiem. Let's see what you can do with it.
By the way, we have a couple differences in Keystones this time around. One, Keel is going the first strike variant, so is going for that money, plus the futures market, so he'll be building his mythic very quickly and ulting off cooldown. But also, Deep has pressed the attack this time. No comment.
Okay, so it's a little bit different. Maybe just feeling like having played the last matchup that Comet didn't give them the most value. It's also worth noting that it's a different starting item as well here, opting into the Doran's Blade as opposed to the Tier. So he's going to be going a little bit more attack centric. Maybe just doesn't want to get 1v1 by Trevor at level 1. It's gone for something a bit better at trying to deal with that.
That's a fear all bot laners have, to be honest. As they should. They should fear us support mains, really and truly.
Do you still class Trevor? Well, obviously he's still a support main, but is he playing support this game? That's the crucial question.
Technically, yes. He is locked and loaded into it. It's fasting Senna, so technically we still get to call him a support.
Okay, all right.
Still gets it. He's still playing supportive. He's got Guardian. He's the support.
I threw you in a little bit there, Travi. I apologise, but you did nail it, to be fair. We are getting to see some of the benefits now that Deep Lane is going to have with his different itemization choices, as opted into the Doran's Blade, which gives him A, extra health at level 1, and B, some added sustain through the lane phase, as he can try and hit on with those auto attacks, gets a little bit of life back off of every single attack onto the creeps. Certainly going to keep him and his health bar a little bit more topped off than the Tier of the Goddess necessarily would have done through the opener to this lane.
Draco feeling the hurt of the hammer, by the way, in the top side of the map. Poppy's really good at trading. It's actually very hard to trade with a Poppy. So Draco is currently feeling that in a lot of different cases. Sejuani's no slouch, so Mooseheader still needs to be careful about it, especially when Buckler's on cooldown, but you can see Talon even wanting to get up into the face of Captain Shrimps. And we actually saw a very unique build on Swain earlier on today. So I'm kind of curious, especially with somebody who likes to innovate like Captain Shrimps, if we will see another unique build path on the Swain again. We saw an Imperial Mandate earlier on today.
Yeah, we got to hear Smacks tell everyone why Moonstone was significantly better. So
yep.
we'll see if Captain Shrimps is listening out to the call. And making sure which mythic gets taken away. There is obviously the far more, albeit boring answer, which is to simply go Liandry's. And I think against Tom Kench and Sejuani. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Central dive in this top side, though.
Yeah, it is easy as can be. Put him up against the wall and knock him down. Mooseheader, the minions,
get out of
they
there!
finish him off. Oh, man, Trevor solidifies the kill off of the TP. A 1-for-1 top side.
Oh, but that's so worth it, though, for AGT, because Trevor has used his teleport to get all the way up to this top side of the map. He now has to base and walk back to that bot lane, as well as Mooseheader not needing to bend their TP to get back into the top lane. If they go up to that top lane with TP, all they're going to be getting is an extra 1 to 2 melee creeps before the wave bounces back and they're able to take everything anyway. Good thing about Poppy is she sets up very nicely for those Skittles to land. Just slam into the wall and it's a free stun for Keel to be able to, line up those Skittles and get the isolated damage down as well. Flash expended by the Tom Kench is traded. Flash of Keel to get out to safety. But like you say, overall, very worthwhile for AOE into Turmeric after Keel was the large source of presence through the mid game on that Udyr. Getting a first blood onto the Karthus is always going to look good.
Especially, like I said, it's money Karthus. He's looking to make them bucks, okay? He is all about it. All he sees is green this game. Keel is looking for what numero uno for himself
and
here.
First back, Lost Chapter.
Yep.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yep.
That is a lot of gold for a jungler, right? First clears, what we tended to see when it was the Viego Wukong meta was you go back to base, you spend 700 gold. You can see from Rosethorn right here, he's got 2 log swords in his inventory. Sometimes you get to see the sheen for a Divine Sunderer build come through. Depends what your junglers are feeling. But Lost Chapter, a whole 600 gold over that. That's a couple first strike procs. It's a couple of the first blood as well. But Keel may be in trouble as he walks through this mid lane. Rosethorn is here, has taken away the big raptor. Yeah. We're going to do some little jostling for small chickens.
Yeah, gonna do a little bit of jostling. He'll be fine, though. He's not walking through the Valley of Death. He's just walking over the chickens. He'll be fine to secure all the small baby ones up. And that will be fine for Kill. He's farming up a storm still.
And one thing about Keel as well, just as a player, has always been very good at these power form style jungles. We saw it in game number 1 on the Udyr, but this Karthus as well. I can't emphasize this enough. How scary this is going to be as the game gets later and later, as those items start to get picked up, and as we see Keel clearing his way through potentially his and Rosethorn's jungle alike, how much damage that is going to be dealing.
Okay, we got a little bit of two circles being
ascending
formed in the mid lane. A lot of ascending coming out, but nobody falls victim. They go back to the base stats, and they're cool with that.
Only one demon, 2 ascensions though. Very cheeky route comes through from Captain Shrimps, but it's not enough to net a kill to find anything just yet. Doran's Ring is your starting item. Great for a laning phase, but at this level 6 marker, not necessarily the greatest for trying to find those solo bolos, particularly when very limited mana pool on both these mid laners have been putting down some fairly decent trades. You can see their health pool's also fairly limited as they head back to the base. TP into the mid lane for Captain Shrimp's going to get him out ahead just a little bit further. And we may be seeing something a little bit different from this build path just entirely. Captain Shrimp's opts to open up with a blasting wand.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's because of the fact that Kill wants to go Leandries in this build path, right? Like, you don't want to stack double Leandries. We saw that earlier on today, and it did not look great. Rosethorn coming in for the steal. He steals it away. Rosethorn coming in, and he's looking for Kill. It is Trevor not going to be able to find him with the lash, but they do eventually secure the kill. Rosethorn, what a show there.
Wow, now top lane as well fighting. Moose Hater has the level advantage.
Moose is smacking him up. The minions are helping. He has an ally, and he's looking to lay in even a bit more hurt. You can't run away from Poppy. Moose Hater finds a solo kill.
May seem like a small thing, but some core Poppy mechanics from Moose Hater right there. Using the Keeper's Verdict to knock up the Sejuani so she takes both portions of damage from the Hammer Smash, from the Q of the Poppy. If you get that first portion down, it's a little bit of a chip damage. That pop-up, though, from Poppy's Q2, very, very scary and does a lot of damage. 46 HP smite stolen away by Rosethorn. Getting the better of Keel in that smite fight. Keel trying to prioritize his life by smiting just a split second too early there. Try and get away. Ultimately unsuccessful on both fronts. And Rosethorn now the one starting to run away with this jungle lead. 2-camp lead for himself, and has got himself this quite significant gold lead as well.
I like this. Ideal Summer looked like a 20 solo queue game win streak. That's a dream.
Rosethorn is a man of the people, honestly.
You get those when you're feeling yourself like that. There's the question of, do I keep playing? Do I ruin it?
It's 5 AM. We've got the second shadow has been formed. We've run out of food. It's like, can't end on a win. Can't end on a win.
It's almost terrifying, honestly. You feel the shadow of defeat looming over, and you just don't experience it. So you're just like, all right, yeah, no, it's a good night. I can't stop playing.
Winner's Q's been kind to you, and you know we've all been there. We've also been in the opposite end of that. Unfortunately, though, CLG, you know, that they took that loss in game number 1, not necessarily losers Q through and through just yet, and they have still had those early game looks that we credited them for in game number 1. Obviously, that nice little skirmish around that dragon that went their way. Really, the large part of where the gold is now so even between the two teams. Solo ball up in the top lane for Moose Hater really could be quite significant if he can continue to accelerate the pace of his tankiness. It could be very difficult for the CLG squad to cut through that, not because they're behind or because they don't have the damage to deal with it, but just because of the amount of gold that Moose Hater has this early into the game.
Yeah, it's also just, the Requiem off cooldown, ruining the back of CLG town.
Nice.
What a rude guy.
Absolutely worthwhile. We look at the objective timers, 2 minutes on that Drake. The likelihood is that a Requiem at this early stage, at the very least, isn't going to have the impact to change the course of a dragon fight. Could well pick somebody up, don't get me wrong. And if there are any fights that are happening in the next 2-3 minutes, you know, Keel could well be fairly annoyed that he burned that Requiem at such a time. But that is ultimately just to get some money in his back pocket. He's using first strike there, plus 69 gold for the privilege of using his Requiem and burning 3 minutes of his time without having that cooldown now available.
Works out good. Roadstone farming up a storm for themselves, though, is making sure that they're not a slouch when it comes down to getting this gold inside of their pocket. This game is it's not even a K differential between these two teams. The kills are even. The Dragon has gone over to CLG Faith for that first one. The second one spawning up. And you can already see CLG, they're looking to play towards this bot side.
It's a pretty big move by CLG here, putting down some damage onto this bot tier 1 turret. Rosethorn has got that Rift Herald as well. If Shrimps didn't make his way down here, could very well expect to see that Herald go down on the turret, just get felled entirely. This is something that, you know, Captain Shrimps does very well, support the team, facilitate them in their move as well. Worth mentioning, he did opt into that Rylai's first.
I would go to Tokyo as well, Captain Shrimp says. For right now, he would travel to Tokyo, but for now, he's got to travel back to the mid lane. And now, Shelly has been summoned to the bot side. It's 2 plates, and CLG Faith are doing a very impressive job making sure that they are controlling this early tempo of the game. Trevor with the most gold, actually, currently.
Oh, lovely. A support stream.
This is how a support should live.
Moosehater, though, doing a very good job on the top side. He's actually going to get a turret cashed in for himself as well. It's not that first turret, but he managed to get all 5 plates. And the turret, moderate. I don't want to say solo because Keel came up and kind of set him up for success.
Yeah.
But still, like, that's very impressive.
Yeah, especially since it's not like a Sunderer Poppy either, right? Like, it's not even like you're getting machine procs and building up the tower this way, but now you're in a different story, a world of pain, a beautiful flash to Keeper's Verdict to be able to get off, and now all of a sudden it is a 3v5. The bullet time coming in from the side, Town going in deep, but he is in just simply too deep. The Requiem comes out. It will be enough to finish off Town as Shrips gets the kill. The Glacial Prison misses its mark, and Rosethorn finds Duo King over on the side, forcing the flash out. Moosehater still in the midst of all of CLG Faith, but it will be a 1-for-1. Rosethorn is not done. He wants to smack up Duo King. He gets it. Another trade of lives. Deep Learn goes down as well. Aaron gets that kill, and eventually it is CLG Faith that come out on top in the kill department.
Oh, and once again, Travi, just these fights hanging on the edge of a knife right there, just constantly teetering, tottering one way or the other. Eventually, it's CLG Faith that just barely come out on top. They're able to take the fight after losing the dragon, and they get to give themselves a little bit more free time out on the map. It is just this bot lane that are going to be able to catch that big wave, push another one into the waiting arms of Moosehater. It looks like going to be the recipient of this crashed wave down in that bot side. Kills going into the right places. Rosethorn with some very aggressive, very sort of edge of the limits Wukong play, but now be in a bit of trouble.
Could be just that. Rosethorn getting caught out of position. He's infinitely slowed. He's getting pulled back. Rosethorn has no place that he can really go, but the rest of his team is here for the show. No, Rosethorn can't get over in time. Tries to jump over to the safety of Wolves and possibly smite his way out of a terrible situation.
Quick pick, though, for AOE Ginger Turmeric. That's quite nice, given the timing as well. Rift Herald up within the next minute, and that gives AOE GTC a complete control over this top side. Moosehater as well down in the bot lane has that demolish and has got himself a sizable amount of health already. But not secured by AGT. Town, I believe, able to take that one from the jaws of not quite collecting.
Making sure. You know, gotta make sure the blue buff stays on your side of the map. Both of it. You got one on Town, you got one on Aaron. Everybody has got stacked for days. And Aaron farming up those souls, making sure to beat that early unit. Has that lethality going inside this game. And it's a much better game for lethality in this situation.
Yeah, the one concern, obviously, for lethality this game is that Poppy in the top lane, but you have so many better targets to deal damage to. The Karthus, the Swain, the MF, the Ashe, all not going to be building armor for a fair amount of time. and we'll be waiting quite a while before we get to see any truly tanky issues come to rise for CLG and for Aaron as well. We're in the works right now, Travi. We've got Bandle Glass Mirror for Captain Shrimps. Still a window where this could be could be something, but Imperial Mandate, it's looking clean.
Yeah, that is
it's getting polished.
That is the build path. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have a much more supportive build choice. I mean, he went to Rally as first item too, so definitely shows that Captain Shrimps, like you were talking about earlier, wanting to be that facilitator. Joakim getting tagged up there. Oh man, that was a scary scenario if that arrow did not connect onto Rosethorn.
Yeah, it may have seemed like that was a little bit too much from Duoking, but he's actually, very much needed to put that arrow down right there. If he doesn't, then Rosethorn can use the clone off the back of the slow from Aaron, and the gap close would have been there to take him out. So actually a really good time to use that ulti. Has got the Imperial Mandate built up for themselves, though it is worth noting, and with no cooldown boots picked up just yet, it is going to be slightly longer time before that ult comes back up. Moose Hater, though, his verdict.
Yeah, it only gets one, though. He is able to dodge out on all the rest of the skill shots. Trevor is here. Welcome to the party. The Hetztech portal is coming in at the dismay of Moose Hater, as they do find themselves dropping to the 4 members of CLG Faith.
That is rather unfortunate, honestly. The Keeper's verdict sticks Trevor right on top of the Hextech portal, and he's like, oh... well, I'll just take this. That works for me. Thank you very much, lad. I'll be right behind you.
Remember me as Trevor comes back in, and this is a disgusting setup. Look at this, coming around the backside. They just execute Duo King, but look at the bullet time. Nothing there to stop it. Trevor puts Rosethorn in his mouth to keep him safe as everything goes out. They get the tower, they get a kill. CLG Faith lose nobody as a response, and Dragon is spawning up in about 10 seconds, with the HP bars do not allow them to stay, as the teleport is coming in from Poppy in the mid lane.
Okay, potential skirmish here. Requiem as well, gonna just stop resets, potentially, and means that the chip damage before a fight going to be even more powerful. Keel hasn't got too much mana here, but does have that smite. Expect to see CLG just give this one up, unfortunately. They don't really have too many tools to try and take this fight. And yeah, that is just going to be the case with Deepland and Keel able to take down the Hextech Drake here. So 2-1 now for AOE. But by no means is this a complete snowball in either direction.
No, it's not. CLG Faith have got themselves an early lead, and you could say a lot of it is through this bot lane and Rosethorn. They're making sure to have this early game action, and I feel like we have to keep watching them, because it feels like every time CLG Faith pull the trigger, it's off these 3 starting everything. They're the ones that are looking for those plays, and even in that last place, we got to see Draco over there flanking with Rosethorn to make that play happen, and it's been at the dismay of this very squishy bot lane that AOE has picked up.
Yeah, last game it was Deepland, the large focus. This time round it has been Duo King, who has caught the brunt of a few deaths. Also Moose Hater, worth noting, currently the lead share for Feeder on the AGT team. 3 deaths. How dare he?
How dare, how dare. And had a great laning phase. It's still up in CS, which is great. Draco really can't fight Moose Hater by themselves, so that is something that we are constantly see, as you see Draco not opting for the matchup, not trying to catch those Yordle's hands, or the hammer for that matter. They both hurt all the same, so lots of respect being shown there, as CLG doing a good job getting themselves some towers and looking to keep this top tower. Oops. Oh, that Rosethorn. Cyclone comes in. Is going to have that Demonic Ascension. Crystal Arrow hits onto the Silas. That could be a big stun. Rosethorn is dropped down so very low. Requiem is not available, though, so they can't finish off any kills. And the Claw does not find it smart. But there's the bullet time. Trevor to the rescue, goes onto a voyage and gets out of dodge.
Oh, that Requiem's up in about 5 seconds. Keel trying to stop some backs to allow him to cash that one in, but not going to be the case. Just a little bit of split focus actually there by AGT. We see the arrow come down onto the Silas when we've got Keel focusing out Rosethorn. Not quite the correct target selection to nail down either of the targets that could have been potentially taken down. So CLG getting away with it a little bit there on that top side. They roam up by Aaron a little late this time as opposed to a little early. It's doing things roam from the Ash, which makes the difference, stops the play, and puts it onto a bit of a scary timer for CLG. Ultimately, they lose nothing for it, and I'm quite happy to see them go for these proactive plays. They're a team presently with the lead in the game. Let's see them try and accelerate it. Let's see if they can continue to build out that lead, continue to put themselves in an advantageous spot, and potentially here close out into a game number 3.
You can see even the gold and how it shifted. Deep Learn hasn't been able to get in here with this different build path that they've chosen, right? Last time they played a much more lethality heavy build. This time they've gone the Kraken Slayer. They're playing a much more auto-reliant build. And while the ults have been there, right? They haven't been able to find the spot to be able to make that Kraken Slayer work, it feels.
Yeah, the ult being there means less because the ultimate will simply deal less damage. The way, of course, that build path lethality works is that it acts on lower armor targets and sort of shreds the missing or the total. It works as a flat armor reduction as opposed to a percentage that you'll see from something like a Lord Dominic's Regard, for example. So champions with low armor totals tend to feel the brunt of lethality builds a lot more. But when you have something like a Kraken Slayer coming through and a Last Whisper as well here, this is acting as true damage up against the tanks, as well as shredding a percentage of their armor, which is much better against champions with a higher total of armor. So Deep Learn here, opting into utilizing those auto attacks and being able to dish those out up against the likes of Trevor, the likes of Draco, who are going to be incredibly tanky for this misfortune.
I'm trying to see what he'll be able to do, see if he'll be able to find himself in an auto fight that he can win, as we are going to have a headset dragon spawn in under a minute. Moose Hater just counting down the time for Demolish, had a buckler ready to yeet it at the tower. Successfully does so, really just trying to knock down that tower with those Demolisher procs, but this game, I feel like it is sitting on a timer for it to possibly explode.
40 seconds until that Drake spawns. It looks, feels, and to all intents and purposes, is probably going to be the next situation when we get a big 5 versus 5 control of this bot side river has been established by AGT, and that bot lane tier 1 going to go down as well. CLG making a call here to control mid lane. If worst case scenario happens, they'll be able to take a mid tier 2 off the control.
Look at this, Rosedorn with the sneaky angle over into the Dragon Pit. The Cyclone was huge, the damage was there, but he does have to pay and sacrifice his life. The Keeper's Verdict knocks everybody out of the fight. Town is all by himself, but he gets Deep Learning, and here comes Trevor with Aaron in tow. They're trying to see what they can do, and the cleanup crew is in the back line and is absolutely eviscerating the HP. Town trying to see who he can catch. The Leandries burning away, while over in the top side of this fight, Trevor versus Moose going back and forth, but Trevor is not able to finish things off. He's trying, he gets away, and we'll be able to escape. 2 members on each side get to survive.
You know the best part about all this is, Travi? The Drake is still up. Yeah. There's a very real possibility we get to see the exact same thing happen in about 10-20 seconds time. Hextech gates are available, and it looks like Rosethorn is going to be able to get there. Was one of the first people to die. TP from Moose Hater comes down now as well. He's going to be right on the top of this Poppy.
Yep, nice decoy. Was able to dodge out on that charge, and now we also see another TP coming in. Everybody is taking these Hextech gates. Everybody is dashing around inside of this.
We're partying.
Town doesn't have a decoy. He doesn't have anything to stop him. The Glacier Prison doesn't hit onto anyone. Rosethorn is getting tagged by the slows from this Ashe. Another TP, and now it is another 5v5 to look for this Keeper's Verdict. It is about to come out. They're going to be able to find a huge pick onto Town. Town can't dash away. He has to pop off a stun before he goes down, and it is a 1-4-1. But yet again, Moose Hater leads the way for his team, but Rosedorn in the back line wreaking havoc, forces the rest of AOE to turn around and pay attention to him to make sure that he is not uncontrolled. Trevor now is in a terrible way. The damage is there. He has that thick skin to keep him at bay. But this time around, AOE GT, they find the headset dragon in the victory.
Oh, round 1 went the way of CLG Faith. Round 2, though, the important battle goes to AGT.
Oh,
Trevor. Let's try and take down. He's got the Abyssal Dive. He's going to be fine. I don't think this kills. Very aggressive to go for the Requiem there onto a target who has a Force of Nature already picked up. So a little bit overzealous from Keel, but ultimately that is extra money in the bank. The first strike ticking over once again, and importantly now, after all of that, there's no point trying to monitor who got the kills and where the gold went. The important thing for that skirmish is that the Drake went the way of AGT. They're sat on Soul Point. Because we do get ourselves a bit of a replay here, and this is going to take us a little while to get everybody in the fray. 2 Hextech gates, 2 TPs, and a lot more cooldowns. There's no Requiem for this entirety of the fight as well, so I'd give a slight inherent advantage over to CLG for that. Town stealing away the Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well. Never really able to get good priority from this. Moosehate does a very good job at just sort of running anchor and blocking that line of sight the entire time. Once again, though, unfortunately, Deep Learn, copying the rough end of the stick, gets taken down and focused out by Rosethorn in this backline. Fortunately enough, he's got Keel, Captain Shrimps, and Moosehater, this dynamic trio on this top side, really dishing out their fair share of damage enough to supplement the missing damage from the Misfortune. Now we've got a Baron here. It's CLG actually trying to sneak this one away.
There's no
shot's going to come through.
They don't know.
And they don't know. Never mind.
Looking. All right, they know now. Hotshot is going to be able to discover him. Hoppy is running up. Count is getting those fruits. Enchanted Crystal Arrow hits onto one member. Hits onto Aaron. They're looking to continue forward. This could be a huge fight. Rosethorn goes in. The Cyclone is big.
Finish.
It is going to be Trevor. He takes away Rosethorn with him. The Baron is at 1K.
It's disaster.
It's been leashed. It is a disaster-rific scenario. Rosethorn finally makes his way back, but it's too late. The Requiem finishes off any stragglers, and it is only Trevor who stands for CLG Fate.
They came so close to glory, but ultimately the Keeper's verdict, this once-in-a-blue-moon pick, is absolutely destroying CLG Faith. They had the team fight set in their sights, the Baron as well, but Ginger Turmeric here have a gorgeous setup. Moosehater, the substitute top laner for AGT, stepping in and stepping up huge. A massive team fight for AGT, a steal on the Baron, a mid lane inhibitor, and in the span of the last 2-3 minutes, Travi, this game has gone from 0 to 100 and it has gone all AGT's way.
This is such a huge explosive fight, and CLG Faith, they are the ones that started off with that, right? And it's such a tricky situation for them. They are in such a rough way now because of the Baron buff. They have to wait this out, right? Like they have to figure out something, but you got 2 minutes until the next dragon spawns.
Yeah.
It is, how do you weather the storm right now? Because this is where AOE, we talked about it before. When they get into the driver's seat, they tell you where they're going. They don't take any recommendations.
They have a couple of options here, AGT. Given they've got that mid lane inhibitor down, they've already done the hard part of breaking open the base. They can now either look to continue their split side lane efforts and take down another inhibitor, although CLG have done a very good job of pushing out those side lanes, so it's going to take them a little while to get down and get through there. Option number 2 is to just control this bot side jungle, because like you said, Drake spawning in about 90 seconds, and it's Soul Point for AGT. Getting that Hextech Soul would be very, very important for them, and gives them that everlasting combat buff. Option 3, which is a little bit hidden option C in the quiz, was absolutely send it down mid lane, try and find another 5v5. It doesn't look like they're going to go for that. They are playing a little bit more conservative here. I like to see them just play through mid, play through bot lane. Like I say, control that bot side, and worst case scenario, you've got a default option of getting a Hextech Soul, or a very beneficial fight where CLG have to face check through all the control that you set up because you had that Baron.
Yeah, this is... Right now, they're just using this Baron to assert this control, right? Like, they are saying they really want this Hextech Soul. Hextech Soul is a very fantastic soul to be able to get. I get exactly why they're going for it. It is their win condition, it seems like, that they're wanting to play through. And they've gotten themselves a nice little bit of a cushion in terms of gold from this Baron buff. But they haven't been able to knock down anything major in terms of structures. They're just using this to set up. Here we go. Looking for Trevor. Nice bit of a route. They are going to be able to stop Moose from getting any closer to the rest of the team. Rosethorn is looking for an engagement in this fray. You can see Moosehater trying to block him out from being able to just take that Nimbus Cloud over the wall. The Keeper's Verdict has been used. Draco is in the midst of it all. The bullet time is there, laying out a good amount of damage. Draco is going to find himself going down, as it is still Trevor who has Rosethorn inside of his belly. It is Aaron trying to get the shields and peel for Town to be able to possibly pick up a kill on the entry side, but it's just too late as the Requiem comes down. Deep Learn is gaining vengeance for everything that has happened. Trevor takes a portal to get away, but it doesn't stop the fact that AOE is just taking the base. It is a 2-0 in favor of them as the teleport comes through. It is still game for AOE Ginger Turmeric.
Hidden option C, baby. Fight mid lane, 5v5, end the game. AOE Ginger Turmeric take the series 2-0 with a lovely set of skirmishes in the late game. Coming out on top, and Moose Hater, what a debut. What a debut. Trundle top lane to counter the Sejuani. Poppy top lane, not to counter the Sejuani, to counter CLG Faith. They went for objectives, they got bopped away from those objectives, and AoE just mopped them up afterwards.
Yeah, that was honestly a fantastic showing from a substitute that came in and really wowed everybody. But it's also just AoE is just popping off throughout the map, right? Like, you do get to see Keel have a fantastic game 1 and a fantastic game 2 on the Karthus, right? Like, when this team is on all cylinders, they look great. Game 2 had a couple more worries in it, right? But that was more so CLG Faith really pushing the envelope and pushing some struggles onto AoE Ginger Turmeric.
Yeah, and they, like we mentioned in game number 1, right? The early game was looking really good for CLG. They're able to extend that into ultimately a good position in the mid game where they feel confident enough to start up a Baron. Ultimately, just not putting through those final steps, not doing their due diligence, and getting knocked away by the Poppy ulti, the jungler out of the pit, makes it a very difficult situation, and ultimately one that they come away largely behind on. But it took them. They got way further into the game with that lead. They're certainly very good signs of life up against, once again, an AoE team that were the only team to beat 100 Thieves Next in the open qualifiers. This is a very scary team. Just because they didn't have like a top end showing from the first qualifier in summer, this is a very scary team to play against.
All right, well, we are going to go ahead and take ourselves a short little break here, though, Rudu, because I have it on good word. Like, we got Moose Hater themselves inside, ready for an interview. So we're going to take a break, get set up with that, and we will be right back. So be sure not to go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. I have Moose Hater themselves coming in large and in charge in the top lane. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, you know. I probably just got like the easiest matchups of my entire life, so that was pretty nice. It's kind of nervous going into it. I thought he was just going to go Jax or something and kind of just run at me and flip the game, but you know, he actually tried to play a real character and play the game out in a normal way, so he kind of got owned.
Is that like your counter strategy? You're like, yo, if you play the game normally, I got nothing for I got everything for you, but if you try to do something absurd, that's your weakness.
Oh yeah, no, like we were thinking of how they're going to draft, and we were doing our 3 bans against ourselves, and they unironically did not ban a single character that we thought they were going to ban, and then they just failed draft completely, and then they fail the gameplay as well. So I mean, I don't know what to say, really. That was just kind of pathetic, terrible performance all around. But I mean, GG's. Yeah, not bad, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to actually talk about the fact that you picked 2 very unique top laners inside of this series. You picked Trundle, which is, of course, a normal counter pick that we see into the Sejuani. But in the second game, you also picked, like, Poppy, which is a champion that a lot of people just, I personally think, sleep on. And you had a very big performance on that, just constantly being the bane of their existence, especially with your W, and some very clutch ultimates, by the way.
Yeah, they didn't ban Poppy, and then we get red side, so we can, like, you know, counter pick top lane. And then they just pick 3 dash champions, and so they're also full ED, so if they don't get ahead, the game is over. And then, what do you know, I'm like 30 CS up in lane, 5 plates on the enemy top laner, the game is over. Like, it's just open, actually.
Okay.
0 ganks, solo kills both games. I don't even know what to say, like, it was just sad. It was really sad. Yeah, well, no, Poppy really good against their team. It's okay into Sejuani. Like, the matchup is actually, like, in tank matchup wise, like, it's actually not that good for Poppy, because Sejuani can go ignite and then actually kill you. But it's Draco and Sejuani, so it's actually not even that bad of a matchup. And then yeah, Silas can't play the game. Wukong definitely can't play the game. And then yeah, Trundle and Sejuani Volibear, the game's already over. We just call Trundle ult, and then we just one-shot their full tank characters. It doesn't even make any sense. Their draft script games.
Well, I have to ask. You have a very unique name, Moose Hater. What's the origin of this name, real quick? Give me the story. Give me the lowdown.
Okay, so actually, I was 12 years old playing Minecraft, and I needed a name, so I just did Moose Hater.
And it just stuck. It just stuck. You're like, nah, I'm never going away from it.
No, I'm an OG. No, it's actually insane. Yeah.
I like that. I tried to bury the shame of my old IGN, so I respect you for sticking with it.
No, I'm never swapping.
Okay, and last question I have for you. You came in here as a substitute. How did it feel? Did you have a bit of pressure on you from your squad, or was this like one of those things where you guys felt very confident going into this, especially with you coming into the top?
So actually we have only really scrimmed 100 Thieves, and yeah, like I've never even played with this team. Like I don't really know anyone on this team either, so I was basically my first time playing on the team, and I just kind of owned, so it was kind of random. It was whatever, so yeah.
I like the confidence. Yeah. You guys have a brand, and it is confidence. That is for sure. Well, anything that you
just like CLG, like the rivalry was kind of crazy. Like, Keel was on CLG, and then he gets replaced by Rosethorn, and then Keel just like mogged Rosethorn. It's just whatever. And then I mogged Draco, and then I don't even know. Like I actually have no idea what they're doing every draft. Like I literally just started dying laughing when I saw their picks and their bans. Like. And then I just poppy Wukong or Swain or Silas every game. It's just game over. Like, I don't even know what to say. Holy.
Well, I have one last thing. Is there anything you would like to say to the Moose Hater fans, I guess is the way we call them? The new fans that you may have gotten here on stream today?
Yeah, ban Poppy against Moose Hater probably. And I mean, yeah. I don't even know what else to say.
Well, thank you so much, Moose Hater, for the interview. Best of luck in your future games. As we're going to take a moment to go ahead and go back to our desk and get everything going, get our breakdown for today's games. Root Dude, the confidence is just unparalleled.
A lot of good words. Like you say, confidence really being key. You know what? I appreciate the candor, honestly. Just outright calling out what he sort of thought. Great to see somebody, who to me fairly new to the scene and really making a statement out in that first series, and then in the interview as well, putting out some very harsh words, but also very, very impactful ones as well.
Yeah, spoke their mind, right? And that's something that you always want to see. And Moose Hater came out and bid at just that. AOE, they get to move on to the next round. CLG Faith, unfortunately, did find themselves fallen, so they are going to be in the lower bracket. And they have to take on AOE randoms, who went head-to-head in a pretty tough series. And next week has so many good matchups, man. Oh.
Yeah. It's the curse of week 2, right? Week 2, every single week, we're like, okay, week 1, maybe we can make these predictions quite easily, but then week 2, you're looking at games and you're like, I could pick both teams for every single series.
Yes.
And that's certainly a situation that we're going to find ourselves in next week. That's next week's issue, though. But like you say, great games to come for next week. Certainly excited for those ones.
Yeah, and with next week, you talked about the predictions hurting. Let's go ahead and show the predictions. Unfortunately, I did not get my DK Crew one correct for myself. But I went down with Twitter. It's fine. But yeah, look, I mean, like you were talking about, everybody's pretty unanimous inside of the week 1, where they're kind of got their ideas from Open Qualifier, right?
Yeah, you know largely where we expect the power of the teams to lie, and I think that, like we say, coming to week 2, we could see that leaderboard not be quite so one way, so one-sided. I think that there's a lot of the talent team that are currently just perfect on their predictions right now. I know I myself sat 7-7, just saying. But like we're saying, there's a lot of difficult matchups for second week to come and to play up against. So what we're saying to everybody is, we're maybe done for the week now, but Monday, Tuesday next week, be back here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm scaling, by the way, in my predictions.
scaling, okay,
Rape
okay.
said that yesterday. I want to reiterate that for my own sanity. I'm scaling. I'm saying that in the mirror every time I'm doing my predictions sometimes. But yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, just like Rudy just said, hey, yo, if you haven't already hit that follow button on the Path to LCS channel, make sure you go ahead and do that. We have all sorts of games being streamed over here to make sure that we're showcasing what North America's next greatest talent is. This is where you can find all the prospects that are out there working themselves to get into that academy, into that LCS, get onto that net. You're possibly your Nets' favorite team, your Nets' favorite player. You can discover them right here. So make sure you hit that follow button. And also, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors who make sure that we're able to put out all sorts of good stuff. That's the predictions again. It's just showing that because of my numbers.
I'm a sponsor.
But there's our sponsors, Atlantic HyperX and Zowie, for making sure that we are able to put on this show and make sure that we're able to have all these beautiful graphics, all these beautiful people come in here. I want to give a special shout out to my boy Rude Dude for coming in. Thank you so much.
Thank you
For coming in. Also, special shout out to Smats, who came in here, did the first series for him. Make sure you spread some love to Smats as well. Follow him on Twitter. He's a fantastic person, so make sure you follow them as well. So that being said, that's it for us here today. I hope you all have yourself a phenomenal one, and we will see you next Monday coming up. Bye.